All right. Well, welcome, guys. I'm so excited to have you guys here for week 3. Yay, we made it. How are we feeling so far? Good, yeah. I wanted to check in on last week's homework / grow work, what I like to call it, versus homework. Just kind of checking in on that reg doll and seeing if we could fit that in before bed, or check in maybe just when we were feeling tight. Did anyone feel like that was helpful or notice? Or if we didn't do it, that's really fine too. Yep. Oh, nice. Nice. Yeah, that'd be nice after the hot tub. Yeah. Good. Oh, good. Good. And that's the thing. It's like I feel like when we start to set goals, we always have this ideal, like, awesome, we're going to achieve 7 days in a row, or, and it's that sometimes can get you overwhelmed to not even really like begin or achieve it, in the long run. And so by just being compassionate about whatever you did achieve, and just by setting the goal out, I want to incorporate this in my life, and then see where that takes you, like, that's more of a realistic goal, right? Whereas I think we get really specific with our goals, like, I want to achieve this on this day with this many people, like this, all these diet, where it's like, it's impossible to plan all those, details out. Whereas if you can just kind of give yourself the compassion of like, all right, and start somewhat small or start broad, and know that that's okay, that's still achieving a goal. So awesome, guys. I really love that, to hear that. And then, so for today's pose, it's going to tie a lot into what we learned last week. It's going to be focusing on the next part of our sun salutation, which is our Ardha Uttanasana, which is a halfway lift. And so we're still working very similar muscles and still strengthening and stretching very similar muscles. And you might recognize some things we did last week, but know that it's just very important to point out that we don't want to be overstretching those hamstrings when they're not ready. So even if you're maybe not normally tight in the hamstrings, just be aware of your hamstrings when we start to forward fold, because a lot of people tend to, when we think forward fold, they want to just reach their toes. So they immediately just like fold down, and there's this rounding in their back, and they're just allowing it to pull on the low back. They're not checking in with their hamstrings, and they're just trying to touch their toes. So obviously this is going to be really miserable to hang here, because you're going to be feeling a lot of things that aren't going to be probably the best for your body. Whereas when we check in and we just notice, if we bend those knees and use this hinging from the hips, there's more space created within the hamstrings to get a little lower, but you're also allowing more of a stretch. You're allowing yourself not to compensate in those parts of the bodies when we're just trying to reach the toes. So it's understanding that, and understanding just where your body is at each day, and knowing that it's going to change each day. So if you need to bend your knees one day, and then the next day you find that, like, oh, I can hinge from here and my legs are a little straighter than before, like, oh, that's cool. But like the next day, if they come back to like, I can't keep them straight, then like, it's not like you started all over. It's just a matter of knowing your body and knowing that that's what it needs today, is just bending the knees, giving it that, because maybe there was something you did the day before. There's so many factors that go into your body and how it's going to interact with your practice. That's where listening to the body comes into play, because each day is going to be different. So they might be tight one day, they might be not tight another day, but we got to start somewhere. So with that being said, we're going to start getting into our halfway lift, breaking that down. And that's going to require really checking in with our core. This is another really important pose to check in with the core, because when we halfway lift, a lot of people tend to have this rounding in their back. And again, they're just allowing their core just to kind of, they're not being aware that that can help straighten that back out if we just tighten up the core. And I'll check in and I'll let you know those other aspects of helping get that stable, flat back. But this halfway lift, when people hold it, it's hard because they're just trying to halfway lift from here, from this fold. So, keeping that round in the back, their legs might still be straight, pulling tight into the hamstrings, into the low back. And so again, it's not comfortable. It's going to be compensating a lot of areas in your back. And so that's where we're going to break down today. And I'm going to help you figure out how to get that nice, strong core, creating a flat back. So that way it's not tugging on your low back. And again, it's going to touch a lot on that kind of similar stuff that we went over with our forward fold. But we're going to be engaging our core. So enough of my talk. We'll also get into our option 3 and 4, kind of extended 4 of our sun salutation options. So we're actually going to be learning a modified chaturanga today and starting to kind of get into that. So with that being said, we'll also review everything that we went over and the props that we need today if we don't even have them. We've got 2 yoga blocks, a massage ball, and then a padding for underneath the knees is going to be useful as well. And any other props that you want to use. So if you like to use a strap or want to just have that on hand, I don't think I'm specifically going to go for anything that we need a strap today, but it's always good to have extra props that you like to use throughout your practice on hand. And then as always, this is your practice. So if I come across anything that is not for you today, don't worry about it. I'll try to offer modifications and variations, again, walking you through things. And today we're actually gonna start in our Tadasana. So yeah, right where we're standing. So let's start in our Tadasana. Just go ahead and bring your feet nice and grounded into the mat first. I know we haven't rolled out our feet quite yet, but just go ahead and start to find a grounded position here. Both feet on the mat, maybe spread those toes out, start to rock a little right and left into those feet, really settling down. If your feet together are knocking those ankles and knees together are comfortable, just separate those feet a little bit. So squeeze those inner thighs together, reach the crown of the head nice and tall, shoulders relax down and back. We're gonna start here in our standing pose, a little bit more alert than I usually start. We're still gonna connect to our breath here. So inhale, circle sweep, hands reach up high. Exhale, palms to heart center. Maybe even close your eyes here to get started as we inhale, circle sweep, hands reach up high, really start to feel length. Exhale, grounding into the feet, hands heart center. Last one together. Inhale, circle sweep, hands reach high. Exhale, palms to heart center. Pausing here, either keeping your hands to heart center and taking your gaze slightly towards the fingertips, tucking that chin towards the chest, or maybe you take one hand to your heart and one hand to the belly button. We're going to start to focus in on our breath here, creating a balanced inhale and a balanced exhale. Let's meet together on our next inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Continuing this breath here for a few more on your own, creating and establishing a rhythm for your practice. And as you establish this rhythm of breath to guide you through these postures today, maybe you choose an intention to go along with it. Could be a word or phrase to serve as a mantra for your practice, sort of bridge between mind and body. Maybe embodying a feeling, like gratitude, strength, or maybe simply being open to receive what wisdom comes through your practice today. Whatever intention is calling out here on your next inhale, breathe it in, honor it before it's even shown up. And then exhale, release any expectation of how it may play out for you today. One more breath here, sealing this in, big inhale. And then exhale, let it go. May this yoga practice open and strengthen your mind and heart. May this yoga practice open and strengthen your mind and heart. Let's go ahead and release the hands back down by our sides. As we stand here in our mountain pose, and you can choose to keep your eyes closed just for a little longer. With each inhale, imagine reaching that crown of the head tall. Spine reaches up like someone's pulling a string all the way to the ceiling, through the spine like a puppet. And then on your exhale, roll those shoulders away from the ears. Try not to squeeze the shoulder blades together. It's just a relaxing of the shoulders down. Spark through those fingers. Take a few more like that. Big inhale, feel the lengthening through the torso, reaching up from the hips all the way to the ceiling. Exhale, feel grounding into the feet. One more inhale. Feel that core engaged, sucking towards the spine, and then exhale, keep that core engaged. Just feel strong into the legs, all the way to the ground. Nice job. Let's go ahead and flutter open those eyes. And then go ahead and bend one knee, the other, kind of shimmy out those hips. Go ahead and grab for your massage ball. Just make sure it's close by here. Before we massage our feet out, I want you to take a moment, standing both feet on the mat. And since we kind of took a moment of stillness there, I want to wake our bodies back up. So start to roll those shoulders out. You start to wiggle those fingers, maybe move the arms. I think you know where I'm going with this. Start to move your body in any way that feels good. So maybe you start to shake those arms. Maybe you start to bring the legs into it. Maybe you start to move the shoulders around, moving the chest around, really taking whatever movement feels good. Maybe even lifting those arms up overhead, shaking those hands out. Just ask yourself what feels good. Shake all that static energy out that you may be feeling. Maybe you had a typical Monday. And then one more breath here. Let's go ahead and find our way back to standing, slowly getting those moves out, any last little wiggles. And then we'll go ahead and grab that massage ball underneath the right foot and start to roll out our feet. Taking that right foot and just rolling it back and forth over your massage ball. You'll be finding any nice juicy spots that it feels good to hold. Put some extra pressure into, and always feel free if we need to find a wall to help support our balance, if that's something that's needed today. Or maybe I always find placing my hands on my hips helps as well. Maybe you like to spread those toes out, roll a little right and left on the toes. Notice how that feels. I'm taking about one more breath here, rolling out this right foot. And then slowly place that ball off when you're ready, just to a good stopping point. Let's take that check in here, both feet on the mat before we switch to the other side. Find your mountain pose and just check in with those feet, maybe even close the eyes, take a breath. Notice how the right foot is grounded, connected. Notice how the left is still a little bit lifted, uprooted. And then when you're ready, flutter open those eyes. Let's switch, standing onto that right leg, placing that massage ball underneath the left foot, rolling back and forth. Noticing any areas that feel juicy to stay a little longer, putting some extra pressure into, really standing onto. Maybe spreading those toes out wide and rocking a little right and left. So let's take about one more breath here. Taking your time, no rush. You kind of check in with everything, yeah. And I feel like the more that might be the biggest one that you'll take away, because we're gonna hit it each week really and come back to it. So, oh, right there. So let's go ahead and roll that massage ball off when you're ready, no rush. Find a good stopping point for it so it doesn't roll away. If it does, we can find it later. And then we'll go ahead and place both feet on the mat. We're going to check in with our Tadasana, take a quick review of this. So placing those feet together, spreading those toes out wide and kind of rocking a little right and left, feeling planted in all four corners of the feet. So that's the balls, the feet, the heels, and then squeeze those inner thighs together. Slightly tuck the pelvis as we suck the navel towards the spine. Arms long down beside you, really spark those fingers long towards the floor. Shoulders relax down with those hands sparking towards the floor. So we reach the crown of the head tall, really lengthening up from the torso. Nice job, nice and strong here, guys. Gazes forward, find a drishti out in front of you, a focal point you can tune into. Nice job. So keeping our core strong as we inhale. And exhale, feel the strength through the legs all the way to the floor. Next inhale, we'll circle sweep, hands reach high. We exhale, palms to heart center, bend into the knees, start to hinge at the hips and fold forward. Hands come towards the floor. Let's go ahead and grab your blocks here to place underneath your hands. And then you have the option here to use these blocks throughout our forward fold and our halfway lift reviews here. So I'm going to instruct how that goes. So we're going to separate our feet first, warming up with our ragdoll. So with our feet separated here, bend the knees as much as you need. Start to allow your chest to relax over your thighs. Your arms can just maybe relax onto your blocks, standing on their ends there, or if you'd rather not use your blocks, you can just allow the hands to hang heavy towards the mat, or bend the elbows and grab for those elbow pits. Wherever you're at, relax the head, neck is nice and loose. And check in with your hamstrings. If we're feeling a tugging into the low back, that is our hamstrings telling us we're tight. So bend the knees as much as you need here so that we can feel comfort in the discomfort. Now, as we start to review our forward folds here, I'm going to give you the option to bring your feet to touch. So you can either keep your feet hip width distance in your ragdoll, or if you'd like your feet to touch, it's going to give you a little more depth here into the hamstrings as you start to allow your head to relax, and then maybe start to lift your hips a little higher. If you have those elbows, bring your hands to your mat or maybe to your blocks, and use the mat or your blocks to help pull the head towards your shins. So really finding a little bit deeper fold here. And remember, it's really about checking with the hamstrings in our forward fold, making sure we bend the knees as much as we need to modify. We're squeezing those thighs together, squeezing those knees in together as we lift the hips a little higher. Let the forehead fold towards the shins. Nice job, guys. Remember to breathe here. Inhale and exhale. So let's go ahead and plant into the feet as we inhale, circle sweep. Next, sweep those arms all the way up. Stand up, palms to heart center. Nice job. Inhale, circle sweep, hands up. You have an optional back bend here as we open up those elbows 90 degrees, squeeze into the shoulder blades, take your gaze up, press those hips forward, maybe lean back. Inhale, reach the hands high. So we exhale, palms to heart center. Nice job. Hands down beside you. Nice job, guys. So we're going to get into our halfway lift breakdown. But I want to let you know that for our halfway lift, you have the option here. If you notice that this with our feet together is just a little too much, and always know this is the way to modify, so you can bring those feet out hip width distance. And that's going to still give you the same access into your hamstrings, but it's just a way to modify. So we're giving us a little more space. All right, so depending on whether you'd like your feet together or feet hip width distance, giving you that option here, we're gonna bring our hands long down beside you. Start in our mountain pose. So whether you have your feet hip width distance, you can still start your mountain pose there or together. We'll inhale, circle sweep, hands reach high. Exhale, palms to heart center, start to hinge your hips, forward fold, hands come to your blocks. As you allow your head to relax down, bend the knees as much as you need here. On your next inhale, bend the knees, drop the hips, lift your chest, gaze just slightly forward in front of those blocks. So hands are on your blocks for this one. We want to have some support here. And then check in with the belly button. Suck the belly button in towards your spine. Check in with your neck. We don't want to be gazing so far forward that we're kinking our neck. So gaze just slightly in front of those blocks. This is going to be slight work into the quads here with those knees bent, but that's helping create a nice flat back. We're taking the rounding out of the back. And then check in with the shoulders, kind of hug those shoulders back, not quite squeezing the shoulder blades together, just pulling those shoulders back in line with your chest. Holding strong here for a little bit longer. So our benefits are the same as our halfway, or excuse me, as our forward fold. We're strengthening the calves, the spines. We're even strengthening the ankles here. We're stretching the hamstrings, glutes, and hips. So take one more big breath here. Strong core, nice flat back. And then as you exhale, let your head drop, let the hips lift high and fold. Next inhale, press in all four corners, bend in the knees, circle sweep, hands reach all the way up high. palms to heart center. On your exhale, next inhale, circle sweep, reach high. Optional back bend on your exhale. Bend the elbows open 90 degrees. Gazes up as you lean back. Squeeze those shoulder blades together. Inhale, stand up, reach up. Exhale, palms to heart center. Hands relaxed by your side. Do we have any questions about that halfway lift? I know we held it for a little bit. Any questions? No? Okay. This next one, we're going to go through a little flow. So listen to my cueing for this. This is going to allow you to open up a little bit more space here. So arms long down beside you. We'll start back in our Tadasana mountain pose. Inhale, circle sweep, hands reach high. This time we'll exhale, hands out wide, swan dive, forward fold. Hands come to your blocks. Let your head drop towards the shins. Bend the knees as much as we need here to help modify into those hamstrings. And then on your next inhale, find your halfway lift. So use those blocks, lift yourself halfway, nice flat back. Strong core, suck the navel towards the spine, really bend those knees, nice job. Exhale, fold, let your forehead drop, let those hips lift a little higher, maybe finding a little deeper stretch down the hamstrings. Let's flow through that inhale, halfway lift, suck the navel towards the spine, nice flat back. Nice job, guys. Exhale, fold, let your forehead drop towards the shins, hips lift high. Inhale, lift halfway, strong core, flat back, gaze just in front of your blocks. Nice job, guys. Exhale, fold. Let's find two more. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Last one, inhale, halfway lift. Nice and strong. Exhale, fold. Really sink into this fold. Let your forehead drop, let your hips lift. Next inhale, press into all four corners of the feet, bend in the knees, circle sweep, hands reach all the way up to the sky. Optional back bend here. Open up those elbows, squeeze into the shoulder blades, gaze up, lean back. We'll inhale, reach those hands high to stand up. Exhale, palms to heart center. Nice job. Hands relaxed down beside you. Beautiful, guys. Nice job. Excuse me. And so again, for that halfway lift, same kind of concept of just being aware of the hamstrings, but also just be aware of that back and make sure we're not rounding when we lift. So really check in with the core, suck the navel in towards the spine. That's going to help lift that back into a nice flat, even surface for you to help keep strong core and torso. Apologize, I'm like, I need some water. All right, so this next part is going to be our core exercise, but it's probably more so an exercise for our biceps and our arms, but it's going to help give us a little bit of practice getting those elbows in tight to the rib cage. And so what we're going to need to do is find a wall. So we've got wall space over here. We can find a door. If you want to use the wall over here, if we don't mind being a little bit in the view of the recording, if you don't mind, but that wall space over there, you won't be on the recording if you don't. What's that? Oh yeah, I'm like, you're a little bit of photobombing if you're over here, if you don't mind, but otherwise that wall's gonna be fine. Do you mind? Okay. I didn't plan that out so well. That my only wall space is where my video is. So for this next part, basically we're gonna be doing push-ups against the wall. So I want you to look down at your feet. You're about a foot away from the wall here. And we put our hands about stacked underneath the shoulders because we want those elbows tied into the rib cage, right? So then actually let's step away so those arms are straight, actually. Yeah, I want those arms straight. So try not to be too slanted. I still want your shoulders stacked over your hips and stacked over those feet, and those arms are planted onto the wall. Yeah, nice job. So then check that the shoulders stack over the wrists. So walk those hands a little bit in if you think they're a little too wide. And then on your exhale, slowly start to lower towards the wall, squeezing into your inner thighs. Squeeze those elbows in towards your rib cage just until the nose kind of almost touches the wall, and then press back into the wall. Lift back up. Nice job. So then slowly at your own pace, start to lower. Just barely getting your nose to the wall, and then press into those palms and press back up. So start to go through this at your own pace here. And what I want you to check in on is that you're spreading those fingertips wide onto the wall. So really creating a nice base into the palms. Then as you lower, you're hugging those elbows into the rib cage, keeping those tight. And this, I know that those that have wrist issues, you're not going to be on your palms, but this is still going to give you the same concept of hugging those elbows in tight and keeping your chest in line with those elbows as you lower. So it's still going to help strengthen the muscles that we need into the shoulders. So let's take a few more here. Nice, slow, controlled. Nice job, guys. Let's find at least 2 more. Nice job. Really hug those elbows to the rib cage. That's going to be the challenge here. Finding our last one. And then gently go ahead and lift away from that wall, step away. How do we feel? Yeah, do we kind of notice that need to have to hug those elbows in and they want to kind of splay out? Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a good tricep workout. Yeah. And so that is kind of the difference between a yoga push-up and like a normal army push-up that you would say, or military push-up, is your yoga push-up is hugging that, hugging the elbows into the rib cage. It's gonna be more of a tricep workout, but that's our, yeah, so please utilize that. Just simple pushing against the wall. It's going to be great for the triceps, but it's also going to be really helpful once we get into that chaturanga of keeping those elbows nice and tight as you lower. So yeah, so we'll get into noticing how that feels when we get into our modified chaturanga here. So you guys can go ahead and make it back to your mats. And so I know that's not too much of a, it's more of tricep work than it is core work there, but know that it's still the same concept since you're standing, that and that you would do in a push-up. We're still engaging the core, and like that main cue that I tend to mention is sucking the navel towards the spine. So still when you're doing those wall push-ups, still be aware that we want to suck the navel towards the spine, kind of squeeze those inner thighs together. So we're still keeping a strong torso as we lower and find those push-ups. So yeah, very good. Yeah. Oh, you're good. We'll just log them in there for now. Yeah. Nice. No, it's good. All right, guys. So we're gonna get into a little flow here, to starting to work into our folds and halfway lifts. We'll start to see those really more so that we're getting into our sun salutation options. So that's where we're going to be hitting those. And like I said, I'm going to show you option 3, which is going to be our modified chaturanga. And then option 4, kind of extended, which is that forearm plank, lowering down. So if you want to take that forearm plank into, down onto the mat into some kind of a back strengthening, like people will do in our modified chaturanga version, I'm going to show you that option as well, that you can kind of take it a little further if you don't want to just hold your forearm plank and press back into your down dog like we showed last week. So with that being said, we're going to start into a mountain pose, Tadasana. Remember, these blocks can just kind of be here in front of your mat so that you can have them if you want to grab those for your forward fold halfway lift support. So always know that those are there to help support you to find that halfway lift strong into the core. All right, let's find our mountain pose. Arms on down beside you, reach the crown of the head nice and tall. Squeeze those inner thighs together, navel sucks in towards your spine. Nice, guys. Next inhale, circle sweep, hands reach high. We exhale, palms to heart center, hinge at the hips, start to bend in the knees, forward fold, hands come towards the mat or to your blocks. You lift those hips high and pull your shin or forehead towards your shins. Next inhale, find your halfway lift. So bend into the knees, start to lift your chest halfway. Hands either come to the blocks. Your halfway lift can also bring your hands to your shins, I forgot to mention, or hands can come strong towards the floor. Just make sure that you're still pulling those shoulders back, keeping the strong halfway lift into the chest. Let's go ahead and forward fold. I want to try that halfway lift one more time. Inhale, halfway lift. So either hands come strong straight towards the mat, they rest onto your shins or onto your blocks. And then exhale, fold. Let's plant our hands down to the mat. We'll step our feet back. finding your plank pose and then drop the knees. So we'll all meet into our modified plank, or if you're in your forearm plank, for those that like that version here, you can stay in your forearm plank, or just for those in your forearm plank here in class, let's go ahead and just sit back and watch this modified version. First, yeah, for everyone, let's watch our modified version. I'm going to show you these two options first before you kind of start to go through them. So we're gonna, I'm gonna start back up here. I apologize. So we're at our mountain pose. Inhale, circle sweep. Exhale, palms to heart center. We forward fold. We find our halfway lift. Again, arms can either come straight, resting onto the shins. And when I say pull those shoulders back, we don't want to be hunching like this. So it's pulling those shoulders back, whether you're here, here, or have your hands on your block. And then we fold. We press our hands down to the mat. We step our feet back, finding our plank pose by bringing shoulders stacked over the wrists, and then lower those knees. So this is our option 3 going into our modified chaturanga. We find our modified plank first. In our modified plank, we're still keeping that pelvis slightly tucked, sucking the navel towards the spine. So we still have a strong core here. We're not finding the sagging of the hips, how those hips just kind of, a lot of people like to just sag those forward. So that's not activating into the core. So we activate into the core. That's going to help keep our hips lifted. We'll slightly shift forward, still keeping those hips lifted, and then bend into the elbows. We're hugging those elbows into the rib cage, lowering, leading with the chin, chest, belly last. So that's only going to help me scoop that chest through. So when I say lead with your chin, chest, belly, it's just giving you guidance to let your chin lead first, then your chest. It's going to scoop that through. So it's kind of 1, 2, 3, belly down to the mat last. A lot of people like to do is this, where they kind of let their belly lead, and that's a lot of work and a lot of pressure onto your shoulders for that motion. So that's why a lot of tricep work. We use those elbows tight into the rib cage to lower, leading with our chin, chest, belly. Scoop it through, those legs come straight behind you, and just immediately zipper up, and our feet are flat to the mat. That just automatically means our hands are underneath the shoulders. Elbows are pretty much bent like our grasshopper wings already from that motion of scooping the chest through. And then we'll lift the crown of the head tall, using our back strength to help lift the chest. This is our low cobra. We'll squeeze those inner thighs together, and then exhale, chin relaxes down, pressing up and pressing back into our child's pose. So knees come out wide, toes to touch, arms long in front of you. And then when you're ready, you meet everyone in your downward dog to continue on with your flow. So the next one, getting warm. Your plug. Okay. So if we're taking our option 4, which is our kind of modification for those wrists, or if you just want to take that forearm plank, it can be a more challenging option as well. Starting in our mountain pose, circle sweep, hands reach high. Exhale, forward fold. We inhale, find our halfway lift. Exhale, go ahead and step your feet back. If it helps to find yourself onto your fists first instead of palms, to come down onto your forearms, you find your way into your forearm plank. And you can either do this from a full forearm plank or with the knees dropped. Either way, when everyone starts to lower down, you just hold your forearm plank here when everyone starts to do their modified chaturanga. And when you start to, actually, pardon me, when everyone starts to lower down, that's where you drop your knees, tops of the feet flat, and then start to lead with your chin, chest, belly, as you scoop it through into your low scorpion. So I apologize, as everyone lowers down into your modified chaturanga, that's also when you're gonna drop your knees, bring those tops of the feet flat, and start to lead with that chin, chest, belly, scoop that chest through. And then the feet will come out hip width distance, creating a little more space for you. But the idea is you're pressing into the forearms, lifting out the shoulders, lifting the crown of the head up. So we have that same back strengthening here. And then when you're ready, you can kind of lift up, press back into your child's pose, and then meet into your downward dog if you'd like to step forward to continue on. Does that make sense? Like that second one got a little jumbled there, but the idea is that we're lowering down and really just allowing that chest to kind of scoop through to help create that entrance into that back strengthening there. And we'll work more on that back strengthening posture and more on those specific postures next week. So don't worry too much about that right now. But that's going to be your option 3 or 4, or another option that you can play with. Excuse me. When we do these sun salutations as a whole, if we want to attempt those 108, we've got to have plenty of options to play with. So let's go ahead and stand up. Now that you've seen those, we'll walk through. I'll run you through that first one, and then I'll run you through that second one. If the second one is the only one that you want to do, or if the first one is the only one you want to do, then stick with, doing one both times. But I'm going to give you the option. We're going to run through it twice. So 2 sun salutation rounds. So that gives you the option to play and try both. I'm going to instruct both. But again, stick with the one that works best for you if you know that one works better for you. Or if you want to try the first one that works better for you, So anyways, just giving you the option to play with both of them, but do what works for your body. We'll find our mountain pose, arms long down beside you. Beautiful. Inhale, circle sweep, hands reach up high. So we exhale, palms to heart center, hinge at the hips, bend into the knees, forward folds. Really let that head drop towards the shins, hips lift high. Next, inhale, find your halfway lift, drop the hips, bend the knees. Lift your chest halfway, strong core, suck the navel towards the spine. And then exhale, fold, plant your hands down, step your feet back, finding your high plank. Just to start, make sure those hands are the fingers are nice and spread out. Hands are stacked underneath the shoulders. And then we'll shift forward and drop the knees down, finding our modified plank. Check in with your pelvis, tuck it forward, suck the navel towards the spine, gaze just slightly between the thumbs so we're not cranking our neck forward. And then on your next exhale, start to lower down, nice and slow, hug those elbows in towards your rib cage, suck the navel towards the spine. Lead with your chin, chest, belly, scoop that chest through. Gaze starts to go up, lifting the crown of the head tall. Squeeze into the shoulder blades, squeeze those inner thighs together, tops of the feet press into the mat. Exhale, relax that chin down. We'll inhale, press into the palms, lift onto the knees, bring those knees out wide, toes to touch. Press the hips back, finding your child's pose, balasana. Arms reach out long in front of you. And again, we'll come back to paying more attention to that low cobra next week when we touch on our back strengthening portion. Actually 2 weeks, we've got plank next week, so yay. So next inhale, let's start to lift up onto the knees. Bring those knees underneath you so you can curl under your toes. Lift the knees and press those hips high and back, meeting in a downward facing dog. Head hangs heavy. We'll take our gaze up towards the top of your mat when you're ready. Bend in the knees. And then inhale, step forward. Forward folds. Let your head relax, hips high. Then inhale, press into all 4 corners of the feet. Bend in the knees as we circle sweep. Hands reach up high. Exhale, palms to heart center. Nice job. Inhale, circle sweep, hands reach high. Optional back bend here. Bend those elbows open, 90 degrees. Squeeze the shoulder blades, gaze up, lean back. Inhale, reach those hands high. So we exhale, palms here at center. Next inhale, circle sweep, reach high. Exhale, arms out wide, swan dive, hinge at the hips, forward folds. Hands come towards the mat, lift your hips high, let your forehead relax towards the shins. Next inhale, find a halfway lift, bend the knees, lift your chest halfway, hands either to the shins, to your blocks, or strong towards the mat. And then exhale, let's plant our hands down or fists down, step our feet back, find your plank pose just for a moment to transition onto the forearms. So drop your elbows down to the mat, finding your forearm plank first, or staying in your other option for your modified chaturanga if you like. So from our forearm plank, we're gonna drop our knees. We'll slowly start to lower our chest down, leading with the chin first, then the chest, then the belly scoops through, finding our low scorpion. So pressing into the elbows, lifting out of the shoulders, lifting the crown of the head up. Those feet slightly separate. Let the hips just sink towards the mat. Find one more breath here, really lengthen up. And exhale, let your hips sink. And then gently start to relax your head down as we press into the elbows, press onto the knees, walk our hands back, knees out wide, toes to touch. Press your hips back, find your child's pose. Take a moment here, maybe you like to rock your head right and left. Next inhale, let's go ahead and lift up onto the knees. So we're gonna find our knees here. This is where your padding can come into play if you'd like to place that underneath your knees. And then from your tabletop, just walk your hands up to the knees as we start to lift ourselves up. So I'm gonna play with a little bit of mobility and balance here. So taking your hands to your hips, see if you can take your weight to your left knee. See if you can pick up that right leg and just kick it out to the side. Yeah. So our toes forward, heel back. We'll take our hands, circle sweep, hands reach high. And then as you exhale, right hand goes down the right leg, reach the left fingertips high. Maybe you take your gaze up as you lean those fingertips over towards the right. So we're leaning into that right leg, stretching through the left side body, keeping our shoulders stacked. And then next inhale, we'll sweep that left arm up, right arm comes up, and then left arm comes down to the mat, stacking our shoulders as we lean into that left palm. Maybe you'd like to lift your right leg as well. So finding our modified side plank, we're working into our core exercise here, sucking the navel towards the spine, flex into your right foot, strong into that right quad. Shoulders are stacked. Let's flow through this. Next inhale, plant that right foot, reach the right fingertips high, lift up, use your core. Right hand goes down that right leg, left hand reaches high, stretch to the left side. Inhale, stand up, both arms reach high, and then left hand comes down. Right hand stays high as we lift that right leg off the mat. Find your modified side plank. Nice job. Next inhale, reach up, stand up, right leg plants. Left hand reaches high, right hand goes down that right leg, stretch your left side. And then inhale, both hands reach high, last one, left hand drops. Stack the shoulders, lift that right leg, longest, strongest hold here. Maybe you'd like to reach your right arm in line with your right ear, finding a straight line from your fingertips to your heel. Maybe for a little extra, we find an inhale, and then exhale, crunch knee to elbow, or hold wherever you're at. Inhale, lengthen, exhale, crunch. Finding the little extra or holding wherever you're at. Last three, crunch. Lengthen, last two, crunch. Lengthen, last one, crunch. Lengthen. Go ahead and drop that right foot down. Right hand reaches high. Last time, reach up, reverse. Left hand reaches high. Right hand down the right leg. Stretch that left side. And then we'll inhale, both hands reach high. We exhale, palms to heart center. Go ahead and take our hands to our hips. See if you can pick up that right leg and place it down. We'll come onto the right knee. See if you can pick up the left leg, stick it out. Bringing the toes forward, heel back. Nice job. Inhale, circle sweep. So we exhale, left hand down the left leg, reach the right fingertips, stretch over the right side. So reaching those fingertips so over towards the left as we settle into that left leg, really stretching through our right side, keeping our shoulders stacked. Maybe even take your gaze up towards the ceiling. Next inhale, use your right hand to reach up, left hand meets it, right hand drops to the floor as we lift our left leg up, finding our modified side plank. Our arms are in a straight line, stacking our shoulders, flex into the heels, strong into that left glute, left thigh, strong into the core, like navel towards your spine. Let's flow through this. Using your core, plant the left foot, lift up, left hand guide, down the left leg, right hand reaches high. We'll inhale, both hands reach high, right hand drops to the floor. Let's find our modified side plank. Nice job, guys. Stacking the shoulders, strong through the heel, all the way to the hip. Let's inhale, lift up, rise up, reach right hand up, left hand down the left leg. Last time as we swing right hand down to the floor, left hand reaches high, lift that left leg, flex into your foot, staying here, or maybe like to reach your left arm in line with your ear. Holding here, longest, strongest hold yet, or maybe you find some length, and then exhale, crunch left knee into left elbow. Inhale, reach it long. Exhale, crunch it in. Inhale, reach it long. 3 more, exhale, crunch. Inhale, reach. Exhale, crunch. Nice job, last 2. Exhale, crunch, last 1. Nice job, guys. We'll reach it long, plant that left foot. Left hand reaches high. Last time, reach it up. Right hand to the sky, left hand down your left leg. Stretching through your right side. And then we'll inhale, both hands reach high. Palms come to heart center. Throw our hands to our hips. See if you can lift and bring left knee down. Nice job. So our knees stay where they're at here, underneath our hips, hip width distance. We'll take our hands to our low back, tucking them into our invisible jean pockets for our camel pose. Big back bend here. We're doing a lot of forward folding. So squeeze those elbows together. Next inhale, lengthen up to the spine. As you exhale, start to lean back. You gaze up, leaning into those palms, squeezing the elbows together. Big C shape with the body. Always feel free to tuck under those toes and feel like that helps support. Maybe you drop your hands down to the heels, creating a big capital D shape here. If you have those hands down to the heels, head is heavy. One more big breath. Gently working your way back up, hands to low back. Lift and rise up, gently taking your time to sit the hips back to the heels. We'll bring those knees into touch, bring our hands out in front of you, really spread out those fingers, middle fingers to touch, and then slide your pinkies into your hip creases, palms face up. Inhale, lengthen up through the spine. As you exhale, start to forward fold, tucking your forehead in towards your knees. Let your let your hips drop back towards the hips as well. So it's a little bit of a pulling forehead towards the knees, then counteracting and sitting those hips back. Lastly, let your elbows drop down like floppy rabbit ears. Allowing the arms nice and heavy to the sides. Finding a big counteracting fold here. Let's hug those elbows back towards the rib cage as we lift ourselves back on up to rise into our seat. You can release those hands, maybe give them a shake. And then let's come on forward into our tabletop. Finding any free movement that feels good here for you. So maybe you like to shift those hips a little right and left. Maybe you like to circle out your spine side to side. Nice job, guys. And then we'll find our center here whenever you're ready, no rush. When you're ready here, curl under your toes, lift your knees, hips up high to the sky, finding a quick downward facing dog. Head is heavy, chest towards the thighs. And then when you're ready, come high into the toes, bend the knees. We'll step it forward to the top of your mat, finding your forward fold, feet together, hips high to the sky. Let your forehead drop towards your shins. Next, inhale, press into all 4 corners of the feet as you rise, circle sweep hands, reach high. Optional back bend here. Open up those elbows 90 degrees as we gaze up, lean back, squeezing the shoulder blades together. Inhale, stand up, reach high. Exhale, palms to heart center. Nice job. We're gonna go through one more sun salutation flow and getting down into our stretch, to get down to our stretching. So this is your option to choose one of the two, or maybe even if you wanna choose one of the ones we've done the past 2 weeks, you can choose any option for this next little flow here. So we'll find ourselves in our mountain pose, arms lying down beside you. Inhale, circle sweep, hands reach high. Exhale, palms to heart center, hinge your hips. Find your forward fold, hands come to the mat, hips lift high, forehead towards shins. Inhale, bend the knees, find your halfway lift. Awesome, nice and strong. Exhale, plant your hands to the mat. We'll step our feet back, finding your variation of your flow here, of your sun salutation option. So whether you stay high in your plank or drop your knees, we'll start to lower down, slowly hugging those elbows into the rib cage. Lead with your chin, chest, belly. Scoop your chest through, finding your low cobra, low scorpion. Tops of the feet flat, lifting the crown of the head nice and tall. Squeeze those shoulder blades. Exhale, relax the chin down. Next inhale, press into the palms, lift onto the knees, and press back into your child's pose. Toes to touch, knees out wide, hips relax back, arms long in front of you. Maybe you rock your forehead right and left. Let's inhale, lift our chest slightly as we take our right hand and weave it underneath our left armpit. So relaxing ourselves down onto that right shoulder as we relax our left shoulders back towards the mat. If you notice, it's kind of opening to that left side. Then relax your head down, hips towards the heels. Allow yourself a shoulder rinse here. Press into the left palm as we gently lift the chest. Release your right hand by reaching it high to the sky. Give a slight twist, maybe give it a shake, and then release it long. Let's keep that chest slightly lifted to reach our left arm underneath our right armpit. Ooh, threading the needle there. Relaxing our shoulder back down, chest back onto that shoulder, then head relaxes down. Pivot your right shoulder towards the mat, feeling a little more depth into this rinse here. Press into the right palm as we start to lift and release that left arm. Reach it high to the sky, a little twist here. Give it a shake to release. And find your child's pose, pressing those hips back. One more breath here. Big inhale. And exhale. Next inhale, let's start to lift ourselves onto the knees. Finding your tabletop here. Bring those knees underneath the hips. Hands stacked underneath our shoulders. We'll take our weight into the left knee as we inhale, reach right leg long behind you. And then exhale, crunch right knee towards the right elbow as you step your right foot outside the right palm. Start to walk that right foot forward and out as much as you can. Great place to grab for your blocks here. And use those to help lift and create some space to walk that foot out. And then allow the hips to start to sink forward. Low lizard's pose. Our left leg is long behind you. Maybe you start to allow that right knee to open out to the side, coming onto the edge of the right foot. A little opening a little deeper into that knee, or into that hip, excuse me. Make sure that our foot is underneath, or excuse me, make sure our knee isn't jutting out over our foot. So we want to walk that foot out so that it's not behind the knee. There we go. Maybe you drop onto the forearms if that feels comfortable, just settling into this stretch here or winding down. So find your breath. Let's find one more breath here. As you exhale, finding your depth. If you're on your forearms, let's lift up onto the palms. Use those blocks here to help create some space to wiggle that right foot out to the side and release it out behind you to make our way back, hands to the mat, finding our tabletop to switch to the other side. Taking any movement here between sides if it feels good. We shift those hips, any spinal movement, rolling out the neck. And then when you're ready, we'll take our weight into our right knee, both hands planted firmly on the mat. Reach your left leg long on your inhale. And then exhale, crunch your left knee towards the left elbow. Step your left foot outside that left hand. Walk it forward and out. Grabbing those blocks here, helping lift, creating space for the hips and creating space for the left leg to walk out into the side. And then bend that knee as much as you need here. Settling the hips forward, right leg is long behind you. Maybe you come onto the edge of your left foot, letting that foot open onto the side, knee opening out. Maybe you like to drop down onto your forearms if you did so on the other side. Allow your head and neck to relax. Find your breath. Find about one more breath here. Create some space on the inhale. And then exhale, find your depth. If you're on your forearms, let's start to lift ourselves onto the palms so we can shift our hips back and wiggle that left foot out to the side. Give it a shake and release it. And then when you're ready, you can just shift yourself onto the hips, move those blocks off to the side. We'll shift our legs out from underneath us and find a seat here. Bringing the legs out long in front of you. You can have your feet maybe about hip width distance, or if it feels good, to bring the feet closer together. Just make sure to rock a little right and left, scooching any extra muscle that's underneath you so that you have flat sit bones on the mat. And then this is a great place. I lied. This is a great place for a strap if you'd like to use one. So feel free if you want to grab one here. But what we're going to do is find a forward fold. After all that good juicy folding today, let's see where we're at here in our seated fold. So on your next inhale, first, let's find our hands to reach high, length through the torso, and then exhale. See if you can hinge from the hips. Still same concept, bend in the knees if we feel our hamstrings tight. Grabbing towards the toes, maybe the ankles, the calves, or if you'd like to place a strap around the arches of the feet to find that bend and more of a pull there, access to pull and folds, you have the option there. Check in with your low back. Notice if it's any discomfort of the tugging or, the kind of tugging we don't want, the painful tugging. Let's find one more big breath here. Create some space. And then as you exhale, try to lean into that space. Fold, let your head and neck relax. And then being gentle here, let's start to rise up. Use that core to help support your back as you lift all the way up. Let's plant our feet down, grabbing from underneath the legs as we start to lower down onto our back. You have the option here either to stay reclined with the soles of the feet to touch, knees out wide, or if you'd like to take a bridge pose, you can. So for those that want to take bridge, let's walk our feet hip width distance, walk those heels in towards the hips, arms long down beside you, palms face down, shoulders scoot away from the ears. As you exhale your air out, spread those fingers wide. We're going to press from the fingertips all the way to the shoulders and press into the heels. Next inhale, lift yourself up, lifting the hips to the sky as you squeeze into the glutes, inner thighs, knees towards each other, lifting a little higher. Again, check in, shoulders all the way to the fingertips, creating that strong base to lift for 3, 2, 1. Slowly lower, hips back down. Take it a little rock in the knees, right and left. And then we'll find our knees to center. If you had your legs in a diamond, we'll close those knees up and then hug the knees in towards the chest. We'll give our lower back little circles, right and left. And then find our center here as we wrap our arms around those knees, giving yourself a big hug. So grabbing for opposite elbows, forearms, whatever you can grab as you hug your forehead towards the knees, knees towards the forehead. Give yourself so much love for showing up today. And then exhale, release, full body stretch, reach the fingers long, reach the legs long. Give anything last little wiggles. And then when you're ready, no rush at all, finding your final Shavasana. Maybe the legs are long, arms are long. Maybe you like to bring the soles of the feet to touch, knees bend out wide. And close your eyes when you're ready. With the shoulders, scoot away from the ears if you noticed. They're kind of scrunched up. Just give yourself a moment here at the end of class, moment of stillness. Just exist as you are, soaking up all the good movement that you took in today. I'd like to end practice today with a excerpt of poetry from Morgan Harper Nichols. Where is strength found? Not only in the highs, but neither only in the lows. It is found in the grasslands and the wastelands and the footpaths in between them, in your laments, in your anthems, and the quiet hours in between. Strength can arise in these places unexpected. Start to bring some awareness to the heart center of your chest, noticing a flicker of light here. This light that feeds the highest version of yourself. It is a light that you cultivate and fuel each time you step on your mat in a practice such as this. As you bring awareness to this light and breathe into this space, feel it giving you the energy that you need for whatever's ahead here. Feeling a little more capable. Maybe it's compassion, strength, patience, rest. And as you breathe here, feel this energy expand throughout the body, starting to awaken your limbs. Maybe you feel this manifest through wiggling the fingers and wiggling the toes. Maybe we start to feel the arms reach overhead, the legs reach long, inviting this energy into your full body. Maybe even hug the knees in towards the chest. Whatever movement feels good here, take it now. And then no rush at all. We'll roll to your favorite side when you're ready, finding a fetal position with your arm as a pillow, knees slightly tucked towards your chest. One final moment to really thank yourself for taking in this practice today. And then gently, when you're ready, press on up to an easy seat. We'll find our way with our hands either stacked on top of your heart or finding a palms for our center, eyes closed, just for a little moment here to come back to your intention that you set earlier. Maybe it changed, evolved, maybe it showed up or didn't. However it did or didn't. On your next inhale, let's breathe in however it served you or didn't, however it showed up on your mat, and then exhale, release any expectations surrounding how it'll continue to play out for you today. One more breath here, seal this in, big inhale, and then exhale, let it go. The light within each of you shines so brightly as I see it also within me, but today I'm here honoring all that is you, your uniqueness, and your light inside. Thank you so much for being here. It's always a pleasure. Namaste. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Do you have any questions about anything we covered today? Again, it's pretty straightforward, but if we have any questions specifically, if you want me to kind of adjust your, come up and actually adjust you in your halfway lift if you felt you needed it, we can do that here after class anytime. But yeah. Right. So that cue is really bringing those elbow pits to face each other. That's just going to allow you, like when I'm doing that, it's allowing me to bring my shoulders out away because what we tend to do when our elbow pits face forward is we tend to dump into our shoulders. Yeah. Yeah. So I would say yes. But because I don't pay, I guess, I just had to check in because I don't pay attention to where my elbow pits are at because I've already kind of established that strength. So yeah, that's. Yeah, and sometimes with hyper flexibility, like sometimes people are just hyper flexible or hyper mobile, where you know, but for the most part, those elbow pits facing each other is really that cue is going to help bring those shoulders out away from your ear so you have more base to not dump in and do this, dumping into the shoulders, that kind of scrunching and stuff. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. And so is it like painful to do it is the only thing? As long as it's not painful, I think it's just you're not used to it. So it's just that matter of kind of getting used to that like rotation. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's if we do something for so long that we don't realize needs to be corrected, it gets habitual. So that's all it is now you're just trying to teach your body kind of undo that habit of having those elbows facing, those elbow pits facing forward. So just know it's that constant reminder. And I'll try to cue that too, now that you point that out, because I'm sure you're not the only one that tends to do that. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Awesome. Well, good. And then really quickly before we kind of get into other conversations, I want to mention the homework or grow work. I'm gonna just know that when I say grow work, that's the homework. I just don't like homework. Is like, grow work. Yeah, I'm like, I needed something other than homework, and grow work came to me. So it's grow work. So similar as the mountain pose, I would really love for you to just bring gentle reminders into how you use your halfway lift, like how you're using your core in situations where you're halfway lifting, where you may not realize you're actually halfway lifting. Because like when you think of a halfway lift, you think of a yoga class and a halfway lift. But when you go to pick something up, this is a halfway lift, and a lot of times we go and we just bend down and do a lot of this and we're rounding. This is a halfway lift. So what I want you to kind of bring mindfulness to is when and again, just see if you can bring that shift or that gentle reminder when you go to pick something up and you realize, that you're like this, okay. So when you go to pick something up, it's this check in with the core, hinge, and make sure that core is engaged so your back is flat. Because you notice when you engage your core, that's going to keep your back nice and strong so you're not rounding to pick up whatever you're picking up. Yes. Exactly. Yep. It's exactly that modified chaturanga. If we let that pelvis drop, that's going to bring so much pressure into the low back. So that's why it's so important to engage into the core. It's really about protecting that low back. So again, when we stand, we tend to do this, like we tend to tuck it, we tend to like sag forward, whereas we need to it's engaging into the core. Like a lot of people stand and it's this tendency to kind of lean in, or you lean into your hip, we're not aware that engagement into the core can make so much difference into how our lower back feels through long periods of standing, And so know that that makes a big difference. Just anytime you feel that back pain, and I'm not saying it's the cure all, but when you feel that low back pain, if you've been standing for a long time, if you've been doing a lot of cleaning and you're bending over and stuff, know that, oh, I haven't been engaging my core. So that's kind of your gentle reminder that, again, might not be I'm not saying it's the cure all, but strong core, it's two sides of one coin. So strong core, strong back. When your back starts hurting, it means that you're not using your core. Oh yeah. And it's not about like, oh, I have to stay sucked in all the time. It's just about like, hey, that's very simple. Suck the belly button in, and that's a quick engagement. Yeah.